What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC, and today we're going to be checking out the latest knife in the Jack Wolf Knives Gateway series. This is an equal end pattern, also commonly referred to as a cigar pattern. For those that aren't familiar with the Gateway series, started with a Barlow pattern, so this is the second release in the Gateway series, and they're meant to be a gateway into Jack Wolf knives, but potentially into slip joints in general, and so they're made to be very accessible in terms of both material and pricing. They use more traditional builds, so we have pinned construction versus the titanium hardware that we typically see on the regular series. We have a shield for the first time, something not normally seen on the regular series. A lot of the configurations are more traditional materials that you would find on traditional slip joints. Even the pattern itself is a little bit more true to a traditional pattern. You'll notice that even in the naming, Barlow or equal end, they're named after the pattern that they are. And so a lot of the regular series, they obviously have their own names unique to Jack Wolf. They're inspired by traditional patterns, but a lot of times he takes his own liberty. Some are completely unique to Jack Wolf knives. And these ones are going to be kind of appealing to people who already collect slip joints, maybe American-made slip joints. These are going to be very comparable or even lower in cost than those, but much higher build quality. And so you're getting something with great quality, a great entry into slip joints if you're new, but also if you're already in slip joints, you're going to get something with incredible build quality at comparable or cheaper prices, and just a really great experience transitioning over to Jack Wolf knives if you're not ready to put down the $300 that the regular slip joints cost in the regular series. And so we haven't even talked about pricing, so he's using more affordable materials to make that a reality. So we have things like stainless steel bolsters versus titanium bolsters. Again, the pins versus the titanium hardware we find on the regular series. 14C28N on our blade steel versus S90V. Great blade steel at that price point, but obviously not S90V, but you're paying significantly less for it. Also, just kind of generic packaging, still great artwork on it, but it's going to be identical no matter which one you get. If you saw the video on the Barlow, you'll see that it has the exact same artwork. The only difference is the kind of information above our UPC code here, our barcode. And so these are available for starting at $69.99, extremely affordable. Again, you can buy about 4 of these before you reach the price of these regular series slip joints. And so $69.99 for 4 of the 6 configurations. Those configurations are antique ivory, paper micarta, ebony wood, smooth red bone. You'll notice all very traditional materials, as well as purple G10, which is a TPK or C. Risner exclusive. Those are all $69.99. The other 2 configurations, Abalone, which we have here, still going to be a little bit more exotic material, so you do pay a little bit extra for that, but not significantly so. This one comes in at $74.99, so only a difference of about $5. And finally, the 80s Camo Carbon, which comes in at $79.99, or $10 more than the rest of the series. But you're getting that more premium material that you would normally find on the regular series at, again, these budget-friendly prices. So good opportunity to try those out if you've always wanted to see an 80s Camo Carbon but aren't ready to plop down $300. Really great opportunity to check one out with the same build quality, just a little bit more affordable materials. And so getting into this knife, what is an equal end pattern? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. We can close this up again and take a look, and you can see in our closed position, our handles have bolsters that are equal both in size, shape on either end. So hence the equal end pattern. You can also see with that shape, it's pretty similar to a cigar, which is why it's also commonly referred to as a cigar pattern. These are paired with a spear point blade. Absolutely love that. If you watch some of my old content from a year or even 2 years ago, and when I was talking about my favorite slip joints, they were cigar patterns with that spear point style blade. So this is definitely right up my alley. I don't know if I'm ready to name it my favorite pattern in general, but I do really love an equal end pattern. So was already kind of foretold that I would like this one. It's about 6.5 inches in length, 3.75 inches in our closed position. So that equates to our handle length here. That's enough for a full 4-finger grip. You can see I can get out onto that tang here and get that full 4-finger grip. Very ergonomic, and this is going to be a good fit for almost all hands because it has that neutral handle shape. You can see not really any curves on the interior or back end of that knife handle, and so very ergonomic. The trade-off there is that with the internal curves, say we have a little bit of an internal divot here or the swell in the center, that's going to make it so you lock in a little bit better, so you're less likely to slide forward or backwards on that handle. but it's not going to work as well for just kind of a generic hand shape. Every hand shape works well with this because there's really nothing to get caught up on. So the ergos on these cigar patterns or equal end patterns are excellent. Now in terms of our blade, we have that spear point blade, like I already mentioned, 2 3/4 inches on that. We get the 14C28N with the long pull, a little bit of swedging at the tip, but not a heavy swedging. So you are still able to pinch grip this one if you want to do that for your deployment, but you do have access to that long pull, which I find works really, really well. Even if I'm gonna be pinch gripping it, I pinch it a little bit further back so I can access that long pull. But again, it works really well. Even with short nails, you can get in there and plenty of access. The pull here does feel a little bit heavier than our Barlow, the original in the Gateway series. I'd say this one comes in right about a 7, so it's got a heavier pull without quite being a nail breaker. So for those that like that heavier pull, you're getting that here. Really, really nice consistent pull on it. And again, beautiful action into the half stop, the fully deployed. Really locks into position. You can see I left my finger there, not worried about that closing whatsoever. Locks into position in both of those, requires a decent bit of pressure, and really, really snappy action on these. So a lot of fun to open and close just in general. Has that nice snappy action that you love from the regular Jack Wolf knives in this Gateway series. The cutting edge on here is going to be about 2.42 inches. So you are losing some of that to the sharpening tool and our tang, of course. That is going to mean that this is friendly to pretty much all knife laws that require non-locking knives, blades under 3 inches. This definitely meets those criteria. Also really lightweight at 2.38 ounces is what I weighed in this Abalone version. Obviously, the different cover materials are going to change the weight just a little bit. This one also has some blue liners that match really well with the Abalone. And so it's going to vary a little bit, but going to be pretty close to that 2.5 ounce mark, depending on which ones you go with. Again, a lot of really great options in that traditional realm. I'd say the Abalone definitely falls there. The antique ivory paper micarta is absolutely beautiful. Probably my favorite outside of this Abalone. You also have ebony wood for those that like wood covers. You have the smooth red bone, another perfect traditional material. The G10, which is a little bit more modern, but you still see in slip joints, traditional slip joints. And then that 80s camo carbon, which is super modern and more reminiscent of what you're going to find from the rest of the Jack Wolf series. But really cool. The fit and finish on these are obviously immaculate. The pins are going to be completely flush. A little bit hard to see the pins with this Abalone pattern, which is beautiful. Each of these are going to look a little bit different as well, so that makes them a lot of fun to see what you get. We have the banner shield. He stuck with the traditional shield rather than inventing his own for this Gateway series. And it seems like he's probably going to stick to that. Obviously, I don't know what their plans are or anything like that, but he seemed to be kind of staying in the traditional realm with those shields. Who knows if we'll see those implemented into the regular series with some more modern, something like a wolf head or something like that would be pretty cool. But really love seeing this. I think he also talked about in one of his lives the potential to maybe introduce multi-bladed knives in this Gateway series. This would be the place to test it. These have gone really well. The supply is going to be a lot higher than it was for the Barlow, but they probably still are going to sell out because they're super accessible, they make great gifts, and they're available in a ton of different configurations. One of the best lineups of different configurations in my opinion. These are dropping Friday, November 21st, so this coming Friday. And again, I'll leave all of those drop details down in the description of the video. Now, last but not least, the major difference in terms of the packaging is that we get a generic design. The design itself still looks great, but it's identical to what you see on any of the Gateway series, which are only 2 so far. The only difference is going to be above our barcode where it labels what model and what material you get, but otherwise these are going to be identical to save a little bit of money, keep those prices down. But at that price point, these are very competitive with even the American-made alternatives, and I would argue that the build quality is significantly higher. So if you have never checked one out, this is the time to do it, I think, with this or the Barlow, or maybe wait for a different Gateway series if these aren't your patterns. But at these price points, I think really, really great value for your money. Would love to hear your thoughts on this down in the comments below. As usual, if you enjoyed the video, considering hitting like, subscribing, checking out some other content, all helps the channel out a ton. And as usual, hope you have a great one. Take care.